The human body is a machine of noise, every step a snapped twig, every breath a plume of steam. But for millennia, Native American hunters moved like ghosts, taking game without the prey ever knowing they were there. Their secret wasn't magic. It was a genius system of applied science, and it's been nearly lost to time. Act I the impossible challenge. To walk in the wild is to announce your presence. We are by nature clumsy intruders. Our bodies are heavy, our senses dull. Our modern lives have disconnected us from the landscape, turning us into rattling, conspicuous creatures. For us, the forest is a place to visit. But for the first peoples of this continent, the forest was not a park. It was the larder, the hardware store, and the cathedral. To survive in it, they had to solve an impossible problem: how to hunt animals who possessed senses that were in every way superior to their own. A deer can smell a human from over half a mile away on a clear day. Its hearing can pinpoint the snap of a single dry twig from hundreds of yards and identify it as a threat. Its eyes, while not as sharp as ours for detail, are masters of detecting movement, especially at dawn and dusk. Against this web of defenses, a hunter has two choices. The first is the method of modern man: overwhelming force. Projectile weapons that kill from a safe distance, high-powered optics, and baited traps. It is a hunt based on technology. But there was another way, a much older, more difficult and more intimate way. A way that did not rely on overpowering the animal's senses, but on deceiving them. This is the story of the invisible hunt. It is the story of a system of knowledge so refined that it allowed a human to move through a dense forest without making a sound, without leaving a scent, and, in some cases, without even leaving a track. The title of this film promises a genius trick. But the truth is more profound. It wasn't a trick. It was a complete re-engineering of the human being, a transformation of mind, body, and spirit to become, in essence, a predator native to the environment. It was the art of becoming nothing. When we talk about the hunter, we're not talking about a guy in camouflage with a high-powered rifle. We're talking about someone who, their whole life, is the landscape. They didn't see a wilderness, they saw a home, and you don't walk through your home smashing things. You move as part of the family. The trick, as you call it, was respect. And from that respect came observation. And from that observation came knowledge. This knowledge was a comprehensive science built on 3 pillars: the body, the mind, and the land. And the foundation of it all began not with the feet, but with the eyes. Act 2. The body, re-engineering the human predator. Part 1. The silent foot, the moccasin and the fox walk. The first and most obvious challenge for the silent hunter is sound. The forest floor is a minefield of natural alarms: dry leaves, brittle twigs, loose stones. To our modern, boot-clad foot, every step is a gamble. The modern boot is designed for protection and support. It has a thick, rigid sole. It's a sensory deprivation chamber for the foot. It demands a specific, loud gait, the heel strike. We throw our foot forward, land hard on the heel, and roll through. This impact sends a shock wave into the ground and a thump through the air. The indigenous hunter used a tool built for the opposite purpose, not for protection, but for information. The moccasin is a piece of genius engineering. We'll focus on the eastern woodlands or soft sole moccasin, as it's the ultimate tool for stealth. It's essentially a glove for your foot. It's made of brain-tanned deer or elk hide, which is incredibly soft, supple, and silent. There is no separate hard sole. Your foot is in direct or near direct contact with the ground. This ground feel is the first key. The hunter wearing moccasins can feel the specific texture of the earth beneath him. He can feel the small, sharp stone before he puts his full weight on it. He can feel the dry, loud twig and adjust. But the tool is useless without the technique, and the technique is a complete reversal of how we are taught to walk. It's often called the fox walk. The fox walk, or stalking step, shifts the entire gait. Instead of leading with the heel, the hunter balances his weight on his back foot. The front foot moves forward low to the ground. The outside edge of the ball of the foot touches the ground first. This is critical. You're not committing. You're testing the ground. You place the ball of your foot down, gently, and slowly roll it flat. You're feeling for sound. Is there a twig? A loose rock? If you feel something, you haven't put your weight down. You can lift your foot silent as a feather and place it somewhere else. Only when the foot reports, all clear, do you then slowly transfer your weight forward and lower your heel. Then the process repeats. Your center of gravity is always controlled. This technique is combined with a bent knee posture, keeping the hunter low and stable, his muscles acting as shock absorbers. The feet are not placed one in front of the other, but often on a wider, more stable base, allowing for instant stops and changes in direction. This isn't just a walk, it's a form of moving meditation. It requires 100% of your focus. You must be completely present. You are thinking only about your foot, the ground, the sound. It's incredibly difficult to maintain. It's physically taxing, yes, but it's more mentally taxing. This is the first layer of discipline. You can't be thinking about what's for dinner. You must be the walk. This step, this living in the present movement, eliminates the first signal of the clumsy human, the rhythmic thump, thump, thump of a marching gait. To the prey, a rhythmic sound is unnatural and threatening. The stalker's step, however, is arrhythmic. It's a rustle here, a long pause, a soft press there. It mimics the natural random sounds of the forest, a small animal foraging, or the settling of leaves. It blends into the auditory landscape. Part 2. The unseen body, camouflage and shadow. With sound neutralized, the hunter must defeat the prey's eyes. Animals especially prey. Animals are not looking for a human. They are looking for anomalies. They look for movement, for a familiar silhouette, and for things that are out of place. The genius trick here was not just to hide, but to dissolve. We think of camouflage as putting on a specific leafy pattern. That's a modern, static idea. Indigenous camouflage was dynamic. It was about using the environment itself. It's not about what you wear, it's about where you are. The primary rule was breaking up the human outline. The bipedal symmetrical form of a human is one of the most recognizable and feared silhouettes in nature. The hunter would use shadow as his primary cloak. He would move from shadow patch to shadow patch, avoiding open sunlight. He understood negative space, the gaps between branches. He would move in a crouch, a crawl, or even a leopard crawl, dragging his bow beside him. This broke his vertical human form into a horizontal, less threatening shape. If a hunter had to cross an open area, he would wait. He would wait for the wind. Wind is the hunter's best friend. When a gust of wind moves through the trees, everything moves. The leaves shake, the branches sway, the grass waves. The whole world is in motion. This is auditory and visual cover. The hunter moves with the gust. His own movement is masked by the thousands of other movements. The sound of his rustling is masked by the sound of the wind. Then when the gust dies, he freezes. Absolutely still. He might stay frozen for 5, 10, 20 minutes. This is patience. This is not the patience of a modern person waiting in a line. This is the patience of a rock, the patience of a tree. You become the stump you are hiding behind. In our stories, the best hunters would go out, and their families wouldn't see them for 3 days. Not because the hunt was far, but because the hunter was sitting, watching, waiting for the one perfect moment. He becomes the forest. This patience is the active ingredient of camouflage. The animal's eye is drawn to movement. A perfectly still, semi-obscured human form is just another part of the landscape's complex geometry. The hunter moved in bursts only when the environment gave him permission, and then became part of the land again. Part 3. The Unscented Man. The War on Smell. But the fox walk and the shadow hide are useless against the prey's most powerful defense, its nose. The human body is a walking scent factory. We sweat, we emit oils. We wear clothes that hold the smell of our fires, our food, our homes. To a deer or an elk, this smells like a neon sign flashing danger. This is without a doubt the hardest sense to beat. You can't see scent, but it's a 3D map for an animal. It pools in low-lying areas. It clings to brush, and the wind carries it like a messenger. You can be the most silent, invisible stalker in the world, but if the wind is at your back, the game is over before it begins. The first inviolable rule of the hunt was simple: always move into the wind. The hunter would constantly check the wind, using dust, dry milkweed down, or even the moisture on a licked finger. He had to ensure his scent was always blowing behind him, away from his prey. But this wasn't enough. A swirling, unpredictable breeze could betray him. The next step was to not just manage his scent, but to eliminate it or disguise it. This was a ritualistic and highly scientific process. A hunter preparing for a stalk would in many cases fast. This would reduce his body's metabolic odors. He would then bathe not with soap, but in a specific stream or creek, using the abrasive mud and sand to scrub his skin. The final crucial step was to apply a cover scent. This was not a perfume, but an act of olfactory camouflage. Before a hunt, a man would go to a smoke fire. But not just any fire. It would be a fire of specific plants: sage, sweetgrass, juniper, or pine boughs. He would stand in this sacred smoke, letting it permeate his clothes, his skin, his hair. He wouldn't smell human anymore. He would smell like a part of the land. He might smell like a lightning-struck tree or a natural burn. It was a familiar, non-threatening smell. Beyond smoke, they were masters of their local pharmacy. They would crush aromatic plants, wild mint, sage, pine needles, and rub them on their body and clothing. The goal was to match the hatch, as fishermen say. You want to smell like the specific environment you're in. If you're in a pine forest, you smell of pine. If you're in a sagebrush flat, you smell of sage. Your human scent is blended with a much stronger, more natural background noise of scent. The animal might smell something, but it's not the sharp, terrifying human smell. It's just the forest. Sound defeated, sight defeated, scent defeated. The hunter could now get close. He could get within 20 yards of a deer, close enough for the silent, lethal power of his bow. He could hunt, and the animal would never even know he was there. But what about the original premise? What about hunting without leaving tracks? Aster thread. The trick: erase confuse transcend. The term hunting without leaving tracks is itself a slight misdirection. When stalking an animal, the tracks themselves are rarely the primary concern. The animal is reacting to sound, scent, and movement in the present. The art of anti-tracking, or leaving no sign, was a skill developed for a different and perhaps more dangerous prey, other humans. In times of warfare, scouting or evading a rival party leaving a trail was a death sentence. It is here we find the most literal and most genius tricks for moving without a trace. We have to separate the skills. Stalking an elk is one thing. Evading an Apache tracker is another. Both skill sets come from the same root of deep environmental knowledge, but they are applied differently. The techniques for no-trace movement are some of the most advanced outdoor skills ever developed. Part 1. The impossible terrain. The path of no return. The fundamental principle of not leaving a track is simple. Don't step on anything that will hold a print. This is, of course, easier said than done. The earth is soft. But the indigenous tracker knew how to read the landscape for hard paths. Your average person walks on the path of least resistance, the soft dirt trail. The no-trace warrior did the opposite. He took the path of most resistance. He would move by stepping only on the crowns of rocks. He would walk along the entire length of a fallen dry log. He would move through a field of boulders, leaping from one to the next. He would walk on the gnarled, exposed root systems of large trees. This method is slow, physically demanding, and requires incredible balance, but the result is baffling to a tracker. The trail simply vanishes. The tracker finds a print, and then nothing. The man seems to have disappeared into thin air. Another master technique was using water. Water is the ultimate eraser. A warrior being pursued would enter a stream or a river, but he wouldn't just cross it. He would walk up or down the stream for a mile or 2 or 3. He would travel in the water. All scent is washed away. All tracks are gone. He would then exit the stream in a hard location on a large rock, or by pulling himself up by a branch, leaving no exit print in the mud. These techniques became legendary. We have accounts from soldiers in the 19th century pursuing bands of Apache or Comanche. They would describe the trail as just stopping completely in the middle of an open plain. It was mystifying. It seemed like magic, but it was just a mastery of the environment. The pursued man might have doubled back, stepped into the tracks of a bison, or used a brush to erase his trail. Part 2. The Art of Erasure. The Brush and the False Trail. When hard ground travel wasn't possible, the next best thing was to actively erase the trail. This is the brush out, or drag. The last man in the party would walk backward, pulling a bushy branch, a hide, or a bundle of grasses. This would obscure the prints, fluffing up the ground to make it look more natural. Walking backward was key, so his own new prints were also being erased as he made them. But this too had a flaw. A master tracker would see the drag sign. He would see that the ground was too natural, too swept. So they took it to the next level, naturalizing the drag. The warrior wouldn't just drag the branch. He would use the branch to flick leaves back onto his trail. He would take a small stick and peck at the ground to mimic bird tracks. He would find a deer track and intentionally step inside it, so his print was hidden within the larger animal print. This is 4D chess. You're not just hiding your trail, you're lying to the person following you. You're creating a false narrative. There are stories of a man being chased. He runs to a Y in the trail. He makes it look like he went left very obvious tracks. He even breaks a branch. The tracker follows. But 100 yards down the left path, the trail disappears. The warrior had run left, then walked backward in his own footprints, back to the Y, and then took the right path, moving on stone. The tracker is now half a mile in the wrong direction, and the warrior is gone. This is the mind of the hunter. It's a mind of a chess master. Part 3. The untrack application to the hunt. So how does this military-grade evasion apply back to hunting? It's here that the trick becomes truly genius. The hunter knew he was leaving tracks. He couldn't walk on rocks for 10 miles. But he used this knowledge to control his hunt. A hunter wouldn't just blunder into a feeding area. He would circle it. He would stalk in, moving into the wind, using his fox walk. But he would do so on a hard path. He would use rock beds, stream beds, logs. He would move to his chosen sit spot or ambush spot without leaving a trail, or at least without leaving a fresh alarming one. He would then wait. The key is this. He didn't leave his scent track and sound track on his way in. The animals in the area would continue to feed unaware. They might cross his path from 3 hours ago, but the hard ground travel left no print. His scent had dissipated. The hunt without tracks was therefore not about a chase. It was about the approach. The traditional hunt was almost always an ambush. The work was the stalk. The kill was the easy part. By using no-trace techniques, the hunter could insert himself into the animal's living room without them knowing he'd even opened the door. The stalk was a work of art. The hunter would identify his prey from a mile away. He would then spend hours, perhaps an entire day, just to cover that 1 mile. He would crawl. He would use the wind. He would walk on rocks. He would use his fox walk in the soft grass. He was in effect a ghost. He arrived at his destination without a sound, without a scent, and with a trail so minimal and so cold that it was irrelevant. That is how you hunt without leaving a track. You don't create a trail that needs to be followed. Act 4. The mind, the spiritual technology. But all these techniques, the silent fox walk, the scent mask of pine and smoke, the hard path, evasion are just the physical components. They are the what. They are the final physical expression of a much deeper, more profound discipline. They don't explain the how. How could a human being, a creature of impulse and thought, maintain the absolute, motionless patience of a rock for 8 hours? How could they sustain the total synapse-firing focus of the fox walk for miles on end, where a single lapse in concentration means failure? The answer lies in the third and most important pillar of the invisible hunt, the mind. The physical skills are impossible to execute if the mind is not first mastered. A modern person can learn the fox walk in an afternoon, but they cannot perform it in a real hunt because their mind is an engine of noise. You cannot do this if your mind is loud. If you are angry, or you are worried about your family, or you are impatient, if you are even too excited, the deer will know. The forest knows. You are shouting with your energy. We are taught that the first part of any hunt is within. The hunter had to make himself hollow. He had to quiet his own mind, his own ego. This loudness is the fundamental obstacle. It is the ego, the desire, the wanting of the prey. This wanting, this goal orientation, is a form of tension, and animals are masters at sensing tension. They may not see the hunter, but they feel his intent. It's a vibration that screams predator. He had to stop wanting the deer. That is the great paradox. To get the deer, you must let it go. You must empty yourself of that desire and just be. You are not a man hunting a deer. You are just a rock. You are just a shadow. You are a part of the landscape that is listening, and you wait. This is a concept that's incredibly foreign to the Western mind. We see hunting as an act of will, of assertion, of conquest. I'm going out to get that animal. In many indigenous philosophies, the hunt was not a conquest. It was a request. The hunter made himself worthy, made himself humble, and made himself invisible. And if he did everything right, if his mind was quiet and his respect was true, the animal would give itself to him. The hunt was a gift. This psychological shift from conqueror to receiver is not just a spiritual belief. It is a profound mental technology. An anxious, goal-oriented mind, a loud mind, is a body in a state of low-level sympathetic nervous system arousal. Fight or flight. This means a slightly elevated heart rate. It means your breathing while quiet has a different, shallower rhythm. It means you produce different pheromones and stress sense in your sweat. It means your muscles are tense, leading to a jerky micro-movement when you try to freeze instead of a true, relaxed stillness. The body cannot be silent if the mind is shouting. We call this state predatory Zen. A hollow mind, a meditative state, does the opposite. It activates a paradoxical state, the relaxation of the parasympathetic nervous system, but with the alertness of the hunt. Your heart rate lowers. Your breathing becomes so deep and slow it is imperceptible. Your muscles are relaxed but ready. You stop being your body's enemy. You stop fidgeting. You stop needing to move. Your body becomes a tool that can be parked for hours. You are now biologically silent. Once the body is biologically silent, the mind is free to do its real work. A loud mind creates tunnel vision. It is focused only on the prey. The quiet, hollow mind has 360-degree awareness. It is focused on everything. This is when your awareness, what we call the bubble, expands. You're not just looking at the forest. You feel it. You feel the shift in the wind on your neck. You notice the way the light changes. You hear the bass line, the normal chirp of insects, the chatter of squirrels, and you instantly recognize the absence of that sound, the exact moment the squirrels stop chattering. That silence means something. A predator, you or something else, has been noticed. The birds become your sentinels. The insects are your alarm system. You are no longer looking for the deer. You are processing the entire forest's reaction to the deer and to you. This state of total relaxed awareness was anchored in a deep spiritual contract. This all comes from the preparation. Before the hunt, he would purify himself, often in a sweat lodge. He would cleanse himself, not just of scent, but of his loud thoughts, his anger, his pride. He would pray. He would ask permission from the spirits of the land and the spirit of the animal he was seeking. He would state his need. My family is hungry. My children are cold. We need life to continue. He wasn't hunting for a trophy for sport. He was hunting for life. That is a sacred act. In that prayer, the hunter made a binding promise. He promised to honor the life he was taking. If you give me your life, I promise to honor it. I will use every part. The hide for moccasins and clothing, the sinew for bowstrings, the bones for tools, the hooves for glue, the meat for my family. Nothing will be wasted. I will take your life quickly and cleanly. I will not make you suffer. When you have made that promise, you cannot be clumsy. You cannot be impatient. To do so would be to break that sacred contract. It would be a profound disrespect. Your silence becomes a form of prayer. Your invisibility becomes the ultimate form of respect. You are honoring the animal before you even see it. This then is the true genius trick. It is not a single skill. It is a completely integrated system where the spiritual informs the mental and the mental commands the physical. The fox walk is the result of a quiet mind. The perfect scent mask is the result of humility. The unfathomable patient ambush is the result of a sacred contract. The hunter becomes a natural part of the world, and in that state the animals no longer see him as a threat, but simply as another neutral part of the land. He has become a ghost, not through magic, but through a profound, lost science of the human mind. Aisit Waif, the legacy lost and found. This vast, interconnected body of knowledge, this invisible hunt, was the key to survival on this continent for over 15,000 years. It was a science refined by tens of thousands of individual hunters in every unique ecosystem, from the swamps of the southeast to the deserts of the southwest. But this knowledge passed down orally from mentor to student was incredibly fragile. With the coming of European colonization, two things happened. First, technology. The rifle made these deep stalking skills seem obsolete. Why spend 3 days stalking a deer when you can shoot it from 300 yards? The quick and easy method took over. Second, and far more tragically, this knowledge was actively suppressed. Reservation systems, the banning of traditional practices, and forced assimilation in boarding schools. These all broke the chain of transmission. The elders who held this knowledge were not allowed to pass it on, and so in just a few generations, an encyclopedia of genius vanished. But it did not vanish completely. It survived in pockets. It survived in the memories of elders, and it survived in the written accounts of the very people who were mystified by it, and it found an unlikely new home. Modern military special operations. This is where these skills were reborn. The U.S. Army's Scout programs, the Navy SEALs, reconnaissance training. It's all based on these indigenous principles. How to move silently, how to use camouflage, how to read sign, how to evade a tracker. It's all taken directly from the Native American playbook. The modern ghillie suit is just a high-tech version of a hunter covering himself in leaves and mud. This knowledge also survived in the back to the land movement, most famously through trackers and mentors who had by chance learned from one of the last remaining elders. A lot of the modern tracking and survival schools, including my own, trace their lineage back to a man named Tom Brown Jr., who in turn was mentored by an Apache elder named Stalking Wolf. Stalking Wolf was, by all accounts, one of the last masters. He passed that knowledge on, and now we are trying to piece it back together. We're relearning how to fox walk. We're relearning how to read the language of the birds. We're relearning how to see. The genius trick. Native Americans used to hunt without leaving tracks was in the end not a single action. It was a philosophy. It was the understanding that to move silently, you must first be silent in your mind. It was the understanding that to be invisible you must first see everything around you. And it was the understanding that to take a life, you must first have a profound respect for it. This knowledge is more than just a survival skill. It is a roadmap to a deeper, more intimate and more powerful connection to the natural world. It teaches us not just how to hunt, but how to be human in the world, rather than just on it. It is a system of awareness, and it is a genius that we are only just beginning to appreciate again. The invisible hunt is more than a technique, it's a relationship. It's the understanding that to move unseen, you must first become part of the whole. This knowledge, born of necessity and refined by respect, is a testament to a profound genius. It teaches us not just how to walk, but how to see. If you found this journey into the art of stealth valuable, please like this video, share it to help this knowledge spread, and subscribe for more deep dives into lost wisdom. What other indigenous skills should we explore?